Hello, my friend. I'm Rick, and this is your seat at the table, and we are still going down that deep rabbit hole for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Second Edition and the various things that were published under that logo. And one of them is you've been seeing my Brown series, which in that Brown series, it's each book highlights either a race or a class. They also produce a small, very small number of green books. And so what these were to give you possible avenues for running a different type of game altogether than your traditional sword and sorcery. So in this case, we're looking at the historical reference of Vikings campaign sourcebook produced by TSR. And it's pretty much everything you would expect for that to entail. And it's based off of, there's a map here that I've never taken out. This would be a crude map of the North Atlantic and lands. Here's England and Ireland and Scotland and Iceland and Europe over here and Scandinavia, etc., etc. And then, of course, what I liked about the book was probably the only thing I never ran a Viking campaign, because running a Viking campaign, if you really into that sort of thing, is different from running your standard sword and sorcery or high fantasy adventure role playing game, in my opinion. And you really need to have people that are fully on board with that Viking thing, because otherwise it just becomes a kind of a wink and a nod to a regular sword and sorcery kind of game, which is fine if that's what you're doing. It doesn't matter. What I got out of it, though, was the limited amount of information on ships and the seagoing things and things like this that I was able to borrow and tap for other stuff. So what we're looking in this book, and I paid $15 for it, and it came out in, what is that, 1991. And I don't know why I bought it. It's made by David, quote, Zeb Cook, and he's a well-known author who wrote a lot of novels in his life. A few wrong thoughts about the book, how to get started. The Viking Campaign Sourcebook and Second Edition AD&D rules, how to apply the differences. A mini course in Viking history, the beginning, the raiders, the conquerors, the explorers, a pause, resurgence, collapse, many Viking targets of its era, suggested reading, timeline. I mean, there are. If you look at a lot of sci-fi or fantasy settings, there are their version of Vikings in many of them. The game of Ice and Fire, the damn seagoing house at not Ramsey. What the hell was that dumbass ball? Anyway, I'm talking about. There's the group of raiders there. The Corsairs of Umbar in Middle Earth, and there's several different ocean going, water going raiding societies in Faerun in Forgotten Realms. So I mean, it's just they're there. So the rules here could be applied and loosely or tightly as you wish. They talk about races in a Viking campaign. So you would find different things that you would not normally find in other other Dungeons and Dragons East kind of settings, but the mythology that go with the Vikings, part of that mythology was tapped over and over again by various authors and creators over the centuries to provide color and flavor, monsters, creatures, magic items, etc., etc. I mean, the collusion's there. You just need to look for it. Classes from Lair's Handbook, things like warriors and fighters, paladins, rangers, berserkers, lots on berserkers, even more on berserkers, rune casters, wizards, priests, rogues, thieves, bards, other details, colorful kennings, names, age, homeland, Viking names, men and women, nicknames, what are runes, types of magic runes, how you use them, how to learn to use them, how to describe them, an ale rune, a berserk rune, the beast rune, the catch rune, the dead room, the charn room. It goes down the pike. I can't say that I ever had a player, or nor did I ever have a character of my own that ever really made use of runes for much of anything, unless you go way back. And I think I was confusing runes with glyphs when I was younger, because glyphs are similar to runes, but not quite the same. So Laura, yeah, a couple specialty ones there. Just keeps going on and on. Lots of runes. And we got roll of monsters, existing creatures, and then we got basically our monster manual section for the Viking setting. So things like lots of giants, and trolls. Gotta have your trolls. Now we talk about things like equipment and treasure, money, items or equipment lists, adjustments, how to adjust for the D&D rules, equipment descriptions, treasure, of course, magic items, existing items, magical descriptions, some new items. There's bottomless drinking horn, cloak of dryness. You know, if you're an ocean going anybody, an item that keeps you can keep dry out there is pretty good. Cloak of fire resistance, Kusar's gifts, or magical arrows, helmet terror, ring of money, mirror transformation, reed stock spear, a riding stick, the sleep thorn, stone arrows. Talk about some Viking swords. And we got Viking culture, Ivor's year. And talk about a Viking named Ivor, his year, his summer, his fall, and his winter. Okay? Yeah. So, a lot of good stuff in here, and a lot of interesting things. Like I said, I learned stuff from like their farm setup and their little village setup in here. This is stuff I carried over to other in world building. Everything you learn is a trick or treat or trap, depending on how you want to look at it. And you don't learn new stuff if you're not willing to explore and look at other people's ideas. Because at the end of the day, plagiarism is a damn great item, because we all do it. The catch is you can't make money plagiarizing legally off of somebody else's stuff. But if you're not making money and it's just for game related thing, it's actively encouraged, because most of the books have rules that say these are just guidelines. Please make what you need out of them, use what you want. So anyway, religion, law, making of the world according to the world according to Rolf, lands of the Vikings, etc. So, like I said, this is a very good book, and I never ran a Viking campaign whatsoever in D&D in all the years that I can remember. But like I said, I have tabbed the book a few times for knowledge and ideas. So, you know, I don't know if you... I didn't Google this. I don't know how rare it is. I don't know if there's a shitload of them out there, or if it's a rare thing these days, because I frankly think they only made 1 or 2 printings of this, because some of these things are not your normal traditional RPG material that the game master must have. And that's something to take into account too, that it gets you hear this talk, other YouTube channel guys, people talk about it every now and then too, but it's a cold truth fact as well, is when we look at the game and perspective of material. So this item here, unless you were a Viking aficionado or you are a collector of game material, most players would not have bought it. So if 9 out of 10 gamers are players, that's one of the reasons that video games are so damn popular. It's because you don't need a dungeon master or storyteller or narrator. The machine's doing this for you. You just sit down and brainlessly or wittingly cut yourself a path through whatever video game you're playing. Experience and repetition. You do it over and over and over until you get everything right. It's just the way it works. You can get an advantage if you're lucky enough to get a heads up on it. But the truth is, a lot of material produced by game companies are targeted to a much smaller percentage of the fan base than what most fans really consider. Just some food for thought. Anyway, I'm Rick and you're not. Until next time, hope you guys have yourself a great weekend. Because you know you want the cat girls to exist.